always want to know what you're thinking, but this is a little more formal.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Taco Comfort Solutions.
Now, admittedly, I'm still looking at my bracket, but if you try to put your bracket in now, if you're watching this show now on Thursday evening, no one's taking your, for amusement only, $5, $10, $20. I'm telling you, just so you lose. But I might get a little thought from my guest anyway about where he thinks, because everybody talks about the bracket, and everybody talks about the March Madness, especially when we've got two local teams in it. But we've got a different kind of casual conversation tonight with Neil Steinberg, who heads up the Rhode Island Foundation. They have another listening project. It's not the first time that they've kind of picked at this bone, and I'm kind of interested as to what his mission is here. Glad to have you aboard. Thanks very much. On well, tonight, if you missed the 7:30 show, it's because here's how it works. When CBS clears basketball games, Jeopardy and Wheel can never not be on the air. Okay? We could do all sorts of things in America, but you can never not have when Wheel and Jeopardy. So it comes over to TogetherRI TV, and the chubby guy gets bounced. Okay? But you know, midnight is enough, probably on most nights for you anyway. So tomorrow night there'll be some March Madness bouncing us as well. But so many of you stay up to watch this show. I'm glad we put you to bed at night. Let me show you some dates and some headlines or whatever we have here. Bring your ideas to the table dates in Westerly, in Newport, in Middletown, in Foster, Gloucester, and Providence. We'll put this up later in the show as well so that you guys can write some of this down. TogetherRI. Bring your ideas to the table. We have all these photos, I think, that reflect what the project is. The CEO, Rhode Island Foundation, Mr. Steinberg. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank
Good
you,
to
Dan.
see you.
Same here.
What's your pick, by the way? What's your pick?
You know, I'm
We're
a
past
homer.
deadline, so you're not advising anybody here.
You know,
and don't give me the Sicilian
no, I'm not going to give you that one.
garbage
No,
where it's PC and URI. I can't tell the difference.
No, I like URI. You know, it's also, as we've seen, any given day, any team can beat any team. So, you know, you look at the top of the bracket and they can go in the next round. So I'm not an expert on this, but I'll go with URI.
Good.
At least to the 8, the Elite 8.
You know, it's not being a homer. The thing about the bracket this year is that the ones are strong, but the 2s and the 3s, who knows, right? All right, you're meddling in public policy again, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
What's up with that?
Well, you know, a lot of what we hear and a lot of what other people hear, and I think I've heard you say it on your shows, that people just don't think they're being heard anymore. So the average voter, the average person out there, a lot of people out there don't think they're being listened to, don't think they're being heard. We've lost a lot of opportunity for civic and civil dialogue. So social media goes nuts. People call each other names. They hide behind Twitter handles, and they say things that they wouldn't probably say if they were sitting face to face. So
amen to that. That's absolutely true.
We want to give people the opportunity to sit down together and talk. And you know, I saw a quote, this isn't exact, but if you're sick, it's not your Twitter follower who's going to bring you soup. And if you go away on vacation and you need your flowers watered, it's not your Facebook friend. It's neighbors. It's people you live near that you may or may not know these days. Everybody's stressed for time. Everybody's stressed on polarizing type of topics that you hear about every day. And so we wanted to give everybody a chance who wants to be heard to come and talk with each other and listen to each other in a very low-key, informal setting. 20 locations around the state that we're going to start a week from tonight on March 21st and go through May 5th. We'll hold them at schools, at community centers, at senior centers, and let people get together, tables of 10, not somebody gets up with a mic and rails on something for 15 minutes. Lightly facilitated, we'll have professional facilitators there. Have a meal, free meal, everybody sits family style, and it'll be like you're at your kitchen table and talking to 10 people about issues of the day.
It sounds, you're never going to get me to criticize a project that creates dialogue. So it's safe and smart in that way. But I'm curious as to what the Rhode Island Foundation's role is, why you're doing this, and all of that. Remind everybody what the Rhode Island Foundation is. I mean, it's our largest philanthropic organization in the States.
Yeah. We're a community foundation, so we're all about the Rhode Island community. This is to build community. There's 700 around the country of these place-based community foundations. We're one of the oldest and largest. We're 101 years old. Our endowment now is over $900 million. Last year we gave out $43 million. We raised $38 million. We had a great investment return that helped that at 17.4%. And what we do is we work with generous people of all sizes to fund projects and initiatives and nonprofits. We have a grant staff that gives out the money. As you said, we're the largest funder to the nonprofits in the state. And we wade into leadership and advocacy in key areas. So education and healthcare and economic security are key areas for us, but we support all the different areas. Very important for us to have an engaged community, and that's what this is about.
The foundation's been along a long time, been around a long time.
Right.
History of it began in?
It began in 1916, and by Jesse Metcalf, who later became a U.S. Senator, with a $10,000 anonymous gift, and it's grown from there.
Back then, 10 G's was a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Little trivia question or answer was, though, his widow, when she died, gave us more money, left more money than he did initially. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway,
so
we
built up a
cheapskate. He wasn't a cheapskate. He just started modestly, and we were probably the 7th or 8th oldest one. The first one was in Cleveland.
So the people who contribute to the Rhode Island Foundation, characterize who they are.
It's a whole range, and this is kind of the myth is that it's all these wealthy folks from different areas of the state. It's not. A lot of times it's school teachers, couple in retirement. Maybe they don't have kids. Maybe their kids have grown up and been very successful, and they want to leave money to charity, to good causes. It's wealthy people who want to see good things done now and have the ability to fund it now, but it's also people with a modest amount that want to start a scholarship for a school.
When people give money to the foundation, do they target their interests?
Combination. So good question, because out of that $43 million we gave last year, 2/3 was directed by the donors. So to a cause, to a sector, to an organization. It could be the Boys and Girls Club, it could be the arts. We have a fund for Northern Rhode Island as an example. And the other 1/3 is discretionary to our staff to take these competitive applications from nonprofits and give out the money. They
send the money directed, knowing that the foundation will do its diligence on how to execute the theme of the donation.
We're stewards, and we have a strong fiduciary responsibility. So there are people that left money or opened a fund 75 years ago, and we're still making sure that it's being used as they intended.
Is this a unique organization, foundation, as the Rhode Island Foundation is to, say, state government? What other states have this kind of at least prorated foundational impact?
Well, as I said, there's 700.
I mean, you're running up close to $1 billion worth of currency and an endowment that big.
Right.
Is it comparable? Is it in the middle of the pack? Is it high when it comes to the correlative prorated value to the state budget and the like?
Yeah.
I mean, it's private money, it's private interest, but it's when you say you're one of the biggest, you're the biggest contributor to nonprofits, you become a staple. You're not a variable.
Right.
So tell me about that yin and yang.
Also, very humbly, I wish we were the 10th largest funder. I wish there were 9 other big funders in the state. So these community foundations, which are all over the place, typically are centered around the big ones around cities. So New York and Chicago, there's the Boston Foundation, and then a whole bunch of little ones in different geographies. We're one of the few statewide ones, so it does make us unique in that point of view. There's probably a half a dozen that are statewide. So that gives us a lot more of a seat at the table, as you're saying, because we get involved in these different things. And we try and be there on key and important issues. We can do almost anything. We can't do everything, is the way we look at it.
It's one of the cool, unique things about Rhode Island being a city-state, right? You can have a foundation that has statewide reach.
Right.
We tend to be incredibly provincial in a place that's 50 miles long and 35 miles wide, but it's not always constructive.
Well,
to feel that way.
You know, and to go back to the Together Rhode Island that we're going to talk about, that's why we're not having it centralized. That's why we're not inviting everybody into downtown Providence.
That's why you're getting out.
We're doing 20 locations around to get out, to get us out and to get people to come.
All right, we'll talk about the purposefulness of this and what we might expect and why you may want to come. Stay with us. Think Big, We Do is one of the themes of the University of Rhode Island, and URI is helping to facilitate the Rhode Island Foundation's effort here to get people out over the next month or so and chat about things that are important in a concept which is, you know, TogetherRI and bring your ideas to the table. URI is a facilitator or a partner, rather, in this whole thing.
Yeah, what we want to do is when we hear from people at these different events, there are going to be people, tables of 10, food family style there, and they're going to talk about, and the starter questions are things like, what are the strengths of Rhode Island? What are the challenges that your community faces? What are our opportunities? Compile that information. URI has helped design a survey, quick survey people fill out on their way out the door. And then URI will, over the period of time that we're doing these, compile all the information. And in our annual meeting on May 24th, we'll reveal the top line information, and then URI will provide us with depth. So it may be different answers in northern Rhode Island than in the West Bay. There may be themes that cut across, but they will help us have some rigor to the information.
So I asked this earnestly. I want to know how you're marketing this thing, because I'm happy to help. We'll spend some time on the radio as well, promoting it. I asked Lexi, do we have anything from news covering this? And the answer was no. Maybe it's timing. How are people to learn about this? Obviously, if you're watching it, you're learning about it.
Right.
But how are people to learn about this, and how are you generating, again, I don't want to overuse the term, but kind of an organic, get it off your chest moment from the state? How do you think you can accomplish a true vibe? Yeah,
so couple of things. One is we're out everywhere. So we're in the local papers. If you look at the Cranston Patch and the Warwick Beacon and the Valley Breeze and other ads, they've done articles on it. They've done op-eds on it.
Well, it's newsworthy. There's no doubt about it.
So they've been very good and very interested in it. We will put ads for the specific places all around the state. We did the road show this morning. We'd love to go on the radio stations. You know, we think we need to go not too far in advance so people know about it. Social media everywhere, different groups that we know, all our grantees, all our donors, community organizations. As you know, there's not one source anymore where you can go and everybody finds out everything.
Right.
So we're trying to blast it out, including this, word of mouth. People bringing a friend, our own staff, everybody we can.
Whose brainstorm was this?
So I get to see a lot of what our peers do around the country. And I found out about a program that's been done in Chicago, Cleveland, Milwaukee called On the Table. And what they did, take Milwaukee, for example, Chicago, one day they had meetings all over the city like this. So they had different venues and they did it all in one day and they compiled the information. We didn't want to do it all in one day. We didn't want to do it all in one place. So I saw that and got the idea, hey, we want to get out there. The Rhode Island Foundation wants to get out there and listen to people. We keep hearing and hearing, as I said before, that people aren't being heard, whether it's by us, by elected officials, just in general. So let's look at this. And we started to flesh it out and got really excited about it. And I said, we're going to commit to this. Got our board to commit, and we're going to feed everybody that comes, and we're going to listen to everybody. Our role is just as a host.
Connected with no political group, no elected official, nobody in official capacity is blessing or signed or guiding this project?
Absolutely. We are unaligned, sorry. Yes, nobody. Elected officials can come because we don't really have a way of not including them, but they've been told...
Elected officials are people too? Is that what you're saying?
That's your words. Yeah, we're telling them no stripes. Okay,
right,
so
okay.
If a mayor comes or a city council person comes or whoever, a statewide officer, if Lieutenant Governor McKee comes, he's Dan from Cumberland. That's how we will refer to him at the time. And if they're going to participate, they sit at a table of 10, participate like everybody else.
How do you facilitate a project like this without open-dooring a chance for people who just have axes to grind, dominating conversations?
Yeah. So that's the idea, is that everybody gets to be heard. So let's say we're sitting at this table right now. What the facilitators will help do is make sure that everybody gets a chance to talk. But if you have an axe to grind and you say that's your biggest issue, fine, we'll record it. That's it. You get that one line. You don't get 15 minutes of airtime. You get that one line. And if we compile it and enough people said that's the issue, then that's the issue. But you may be the only one with that issue. So we'll hear you, but we will do everything we can to not let that be the focal point and dominate.
What's your vision of what this conversation looks like when there's, what, 10 people you say around?
10 people at a table, let's say 100 people show up per
Sure.
these 10 tables.
What's your vision?
The vision is that we sit down, the food will be on the table. I'll say hello, welcome, thanks for coming. The facilitator will give some loose ground rules. And then for the first few minutes, we're going to say, hey, how about those Red Sox? Or, you know, do you believe the Amendola trade? Or I think I know your uncle. Things that typically happen when Rhode Islanders sit down together. And then the facilitators will guide those questions. You know, let's talk about what are the strengths in Rhode Island? And you either talk about right in your own backyard or you talk about the whole state. Then what are the opportunities? We should do this, or maybe we could do this. We think new ideas will come out. And then what do you think the biggest issues are? And if you have an issue that you want to focus on, again, that gets a little airtime, but it doesn't dominate. That will go pretty quickly. At the end, there'll be some simple report outs. We'll collect from a recorder there what those topics were, ask you to fill out a little questionnaire, and hopefully people will socialize. And maybe when they leave, 5 of them will go do something, the neighborhood watch. Maybe when they leave, they'll come up with an idea. You know, we did this years ago with Make It Happen on Economic Development,
Right.
which was our first foray. That was a little different. Everybody came to one place.
Looking back on
Yep.
the Make It Happen thing, did you feel like it was a constructive exercise?
We got 300 ideas out of it, we being the state. I'd say a good 20 of them had legs that continued to work.
What would its legacy be? What idea generated from that you think is
Themes
has
like the
stuck?
colleges and universities working together to do research for the policy folks. Some of the industry associations, MedMates in medical technology, and Design by Rhode Island, the design area. People who met that didn't know each other. Half the people there didn't know the other half. Those random collisions, facilitated, but random collisions, produce a lot of different ideas.
So the business and academic and economic networking created that
Correct.
kind of synergy.
Right.
This, however, is much more casual.
This is more
This
casual.
is more pedestrian, so to speak.
Yeah, more place-based. It could be local, but again, if we see a theme, if public transportation, for example, becomes a theme that we hear across the state, we will make sure, so it's not guided, but we will make sure and have told our key elected officials that we will report these results to them.
All right, well, this is the kind of stuff that could be valuable, especially to the politicians that don't have any money to poll and research. We'll talk about some projections on what could come out of this thing when we come back. Stay with us. You know what's interesting about this project that the Rhode Island Foundation is generating is that it most likely, I'd love to get your take on this, Neil, it most likely will get 2 kinds of major energies. Mm-hmm. One, positive energy from people who show up to a dinner, a chance to talk about things in Rhode Island are generally one of 2 categories. Activists, that doesn't mean bad agendas. I'm just talking about active people who tend to want their energy to spill over and their ideas. And then people who are just mad as hell and can't take it anymore. You know, between those, there might be something exciting that you find.
Right.
You're hoping for that, because the other 2 are pretty much predictable, right?
Right. Yeah, the interesting thing would be is if those 2 could talk. So can we have a venue and an opportunity to respectfully disagree? That maybe I heard something I didn't know before, that I get your position, but I didn't know why you feel that way or how you came to that. And then I learn a little more. So you get to hear my opinion, I get to hear yours. Maybe we go back to our separate corners, maybe we don't.
Yeah, you know, I don't know that you'll find, it'll be really interesting, it'll be fascinating. I have to attend one just to participate as a citizen and watch, really watch and observe the mentality in this kind of an attempt, because there's in the 18 years now that I've been on the air here, have never felt a more distrusting disposition amongst the electorate. I'm not even talking about apathetic.
Yeah,
Just I don't trust nobody for nothing. I keep putting this Paw Sox project up as an example of it. You can tweak it until it gets, and if Speaker Mattiello tweaks it and gets it more tight and everything else, power to him. But the truth is he's been riding for months a wave of discontent that, in essence, and I've told it to him, he and I have had this debate in this year, that he participated in by the malaise in correcting the 38 Studios debacle. I'm so tired of that number. I want to move on to, but not curing that problem was the tipping point of discontent in this state, which has bled over. You're engaged. Do you not see it?
Oh, absolutely. I've advised people if their address was 38 to change their address. It's so toxic because of that. And
it's affecting every public-private partnership idea. The Superman building will rot before we get a solution for it. Stadium, whatever. And even my medium of talk radio sits here and beats the crap out of everything that comes up. And people think I've gone left. I haven't gone left. I just didn't get, we still have to be constructive around here. People have lost their minds in terms of what they'll trust at all.
And that overwhelms the facts. So as you know, there was no building at 38 Studios. These other things have a concrete physical asset. I mean, there's a lot of differences, and not to debate that. But we've also, in part of that mistrust is polarization. So it used to be
nationally and locally.
Nationally and locally. Years ago, if you wanted to sell me your glasses for $3 and I offered you $1, an hour later we'd settle on $2 and we'd both go away happy. Now,
even at $1 I would have made money because these are garbage.
Okay, well, whatever. But now the $3 guy goes over to this corner and the $1 person goes to that corner. They never compromise. Compromise used to be success. It's now viewed as giving in and failure. So we're hoping that by people, again, breaking down the categories and just being people and listening a little. That's why we didn't just say, it's all about talking. It's not. You get to talk, but you also, part of the thing about showing up is you have to listen to. And be respectful of other people's opinions. And again, naively maybe hopeful that people will hear and understand ideas, positions, views that they didn't before.
So we'll put that up on the screen again. There'll be, again, 20 different events. But these are only 4 dates. So there'll be multiple events in each of these towns?
The first one, there's 20 across those are only 4 locations. There's 20 different locations.
Oh, so we'll have all that information on the website?
TogetherRI.org is the website. You can go on there. The first one is we go Warwick, we go Woonsocket, then Westerly.
Over what period of time, real quick? All the way until?
May 5th. March 21st to May 5th. Mostly Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday night, a few Saturday mornings. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about what we heard.
All right. Good work.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate
Look forward to it. Look forward to seeing you there.
Final word when we come back. So tomorrow night, since we're in the middle of March Madness, we'll revisit a conversation with Tim O'Shea, the outgoing basketball coach at Bryant College, who we had in a couple of weeks ago. It fits. He's got a lot of information and conversation about, the collegiate basketball world, and we're all kind of, at least, interested in some level, right? A lot of education conversation with some high ups next week. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. See ya.